Hi everyone, this is Ellen from Astrology Journal. We have a new moon coming up on December 1st, 2024 at 1:21 Eastern Standard Time. I'm recording this a couple hours before that. It is a Sagittarius new moon, so we have the sun and the moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Interestingly, the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, is opposing this new moon. So we have, in a sense, you could almost call this a full Jupiter. If we think about the full moon, it's the sun opposing the moon and the sun shining its light on the moon. So we have this idea of the full Jupiter. And Jupiter and Sagittarius represent beliefs. They represent in truth and lies and natural law and all those sorts of things. It can also represent hubris. And so I've had this idea of, or the theme that's been coming forward is this idea of hubris of beliefs and the truth and lies that we've believed because of that. So Jupiter represents, in addition to truth and lies and our beliefs and natural law, it represents social hierarchies. So we have things like class hierarchies, and we have things like caste systems. And I would argue those are that is hubris of belief baked into a social construct that coheres us. So what coheres us is a lie. The idea that some people are better than others, some people are more entitled than others. And then because we are raised in the system, we believe that we're better than or less than because of where we are in those social hierarchies. So the light may be shining. Jupiter is in Gemini, and Gemini has many perspectives. And so Jupiter in Gemini says there are many beliefs and many ways to think about things in terms of beliefs. Gemini having to do with this idea of thinking about things. And so the light may be shining on all these many different perspectives. And perhaps in its shining, we may start to understand that we've been believing, agreeing to something, agreeing that we are somehow less than or inferior, because that's what the social hierarchy has been telling us. And in fact, it's not true. Like, these things can be really, things can be hard to really understand that they're playing out in us. And it may be that we're just getting something in a new way. And in getting it, able to make perhaps a different decision in our lives. The opposition I think of as archetypally Libran, because on the natural wheel, an opposition is 180 degrees. It's always 180 degrees. And then on the natural wheel, if we count 180 degrees, we get to Libra. So I think of the opposition as archetypally Libran. And Libra is about partnerships and contracts, and it's also about making decisions, so, making judgments. And judgments, not being judgmental, but making judgments. Weighing this and that sort of thing. So we can think of it as like making decisions. And Jupiter represents the law too, and you could think of it as representing judges actually. So this idea of making decisions, making judgments. I had an experience today which was interesting. I'm not sure what kind of details I can say about it, but it was an interesting experience where I had a conversation with somebody, and I was really surprised by the conversation, and I came away, it took a few hours actually of sort of kind of like what just happened in that conversation. And I realized that my belief system and this other person's belief system are just fundamentally different. And my belief system is not the mainstream belief. And so it is, this person's belief system is a mainstream belief. And this person works within the structure that expresses that belief, that plays out that belief, I guess you could say. And I was realizing that I've been agreeing to being to my beliefs being seen as less than. And I've felt I've struggled I've been struggling to communicate my belief systems to try to get on the same page with this person so that we can work in a way that will work for me. And it just isn't going to work. That's what I realized. And I realized that I was agreeing that I'm inferior. On a certain level, that's what I was agreeing to, because I was trying to fight with the belief that says this thing is superior. But as soon as you're getting into that fight, you're sort of agreeing to the message, Gemini message. So, and by the way, Jupiter is also opposing Mercury, which is also message. So, where are we agreeing to the message that we're somehow less than or inferior, or that our beliefs are somehow less than or inferior? Is the light shining in such a way that we're seeing that in a new way, and in seeing it in a new way we can make a different decision about it, about ourselves, and also about ourselves in relationship with others. So that might be a theme that's coming up. And the sense might be of, the sense I'm getting with my experience is kind of like an inner peace and an inner resolve. Feels like too strong a word, like it feels too almost like oppositional. So it's not really the feeling. So there's this interesting T-square in this chart between the Sun and the Moon and Jupiter, forming the opposition. And then in a T-square, there's a planet that squares both of those in an opposition. So in other words, in this case, Saturn is squaring both the Sun and the Moon, and it's squaring Jupiter. And so Saturn maybe could give this idea of resolve. And but there's a Pisces kind of softens that. So it's really kind of an inner an inner peace that it allows me to feel more solid in myself, I guess is what I would say about that. And so this was the result of a conversation I had that kind of shone a light on this discrepancy, this discord, that's always been there, and that I've been trying to kind of figure out a way to make work, and that just hasn't worked. And now I'm like, it's just I don't think it's possible for it to work. I don't think it can happen. So that sort of thing. That's been my experience. That's been happening as the Moon has been coming into the new phase with the Sun, but in the balsamic part. But I feel like this is kind of part of, in the releasing of this, perhaps that's going to be allowing me to plant a new seed. That's what the new moon is, planting a new seed in terms of how I go about beliefs. The other phrase that has come to mind is this idea of worth hierarchies. And so that fits with what I was saying before about like class systems and caste systems and things like that, this idea of worth hierarchies. And those really don't make a lot of sense to me personally. And I don't like them, but at the same time, I was raised in them, and I've had to, go on my own journey, Jupiter, my own journey, Sagittarius journey, around this. So it may be that we are entering into a journey to go even the next step, and the next leg of this journey around our own internalized worth. Kind of those worth hierarchies being internalized in us, whether it's beliefs of superiority or beliefs of inferiority. And it can be hard to accept that we have these beliefs of superiority within us. But when we're raised in this culture, it just may be part of the reality that we have to kind of work through. So in reality, by the way, is Saturn. So I'm not saying that is true for you. It is true for me, I will say, that there are, subtleties of feelings of superiority or beliefs of superiority that are not true, but that, I would call them compensations. Jupiter compensations, Sagittarius compensations for, a faulty kind of worth. It's interesting, Jupiter is in Gemini, and the sign before Gemini is Taurus, and Taurus is really about worth. So to the extent that our worth hasn't been fully anchored, that can lead to the perspective, you could say, that our beliefs are better than somebody else's, because then that ends up being the prop, right, that keeps us up. But the real thing is we need to go back and look at worth, right, and figure out what that wound is and heal that. So I think that's what I had to say about this new moon chart. There's more there to talk about, but and it's along the same lines in a way, a little bit different. But I can't quite articulate it. I can't quite get to it. So I'm not going to try right now. But we'll see as the energies continue to unfold if those themes that are kind of there but not quite ready to be talked about, if those start to come forward. But anyway, I hope there was something helpful in this for you. And this is just what I'm seeing, and a lot of what I talk about is based on what I'm experiencing. And so that guides a lot of what I say. So there are lots of different ways to see a chart, and other people will have different perspectives that may also be helpful. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, take care. Bye.